Welcome, everybody. We're doing Ticker Talk today, as we do every Thursday. So let's dig right into this. Start with a little disclaimer. Everything we do here is for educational purposes only. We are not investment advisors and do not provide investment advice. All statements made here today are my own personal opinions and not to be considered advice to buy or sell any security. And all trading and investment decisions are your own and done at your own risk. Excellent. I think everybody here knows who I am. We'll skip right over that screen and we're going to start getting right into it. We're going to take a look at, we're going to start by looking at the major indices, just a quick little market update. We'll look at the VIX and we'll look at some yields. We'll look at the dollar index. We'll look at some of the interesting sectors. We won't look at all of them. Not all of them are interesting. And we'll see if there's any setups. So let's dig right in, and we will start with, as always, well, we won't start with Roblox, but we will start with the SPY. So SPY, of course, representing the S&P 500. It's been a bit of a wild week. So we had on Friday, sorry. Friday, we had that big gap down day. You know, it wasn't a huge gap, but it was a pretty decent sized gap, actually. Let's just zoom in a little bit more on this. Okay, so we had that decent sized gap down, and then it continued to go down all day. And it paused and closed right at the 50% retracement of the all-time high down to the low of the bear market. The following day, so that which would be Monday, it gapped down a lot and it kept going down. And that started getting scary. Like, you know, when I saw this pullback here on Friday, no big deal. I've been expecting a pullback, right? This is normal. And, you know, it may come down as low as, you know, this pivot point here or into the support in around 415 or so. I thought that would be perfectly normal. But when it gapped down, and then kept going down and then broke through that support around 415, that started to get a little scary. And I thought, well, this is too much. So then on Tuesday, we had a very indecisive day. But you know, at least it stopped going down. So that was very hopeful. And that actually gave me hope for yesterday, for Wednesday, that we could have possibly a bit of an up day, which we did. Not a big day or anything, but at least it was a green day, and it really kind of put a halt on this big move down. And today we gapped up a bit and just kept going. You know, it pretty much, you know, there was one little pullback early in the day, but you know, after that, it just kept going all day. Nice strong day and a really strong finish too. Why don't I pull up an intraday chart on SPY and we can see just how strong. So this is a 2-minute chart. The one in the middle is a 2-minute chart. I will switch that to 5 minutes now. Okay, so you can see, you know, right from the start, so we were gapping up, and this was a little bit of a concern here. In the morning, in the pre-market, when we started to pull back, you know, we had a bit of a whoosh down, and then they just bought it, and they started buying, and they were buying quite enthusiastically until we got a little bit of selling here about an hour into the day. But, you know, they started buying it again. Someone's eating chips or something. They started buying it, and they really started, you know, really bought it into the close. Really strong finish, which is a little surprising considering we've got Jay Powell. Huh, where's the noise coming from? DTG. Okay. It was really surprising to see this kind of strength when we've got Jay Powell making a speech 10 o'clock tomorrow morning at the Jackson Hole Symposium. You know, I was saying yesterday in the Discord, I was half joking when I said, you know, if I put my tinfoil hat on, I could kind of make the argument that, you know, Jay Powell's speechwriter has been whispering in somebody's ear, because, you know, that turnaround yesterday was kind of nice, and the turnaround yesterday, which was really interesting, started with the riskiest stocks. It was micro cap growth, you know, those beaten down names the stuff that you would consider the riskiest stuff. And that's what they were buying first yesterday. And it wasn't until later in the day yesterday that they started buying larger cap tech and larger cap stocks in general. And then today was very much about larger cap, you know, the Qs, the FAANGs, as we'll see in a sec. But yeah, quite interesting how that big pullback reversed and started with those very risk-on stocks yesterday. I was really happy to see that. It made me quite bullish when I saw that. All right, let's go back to our daily chart here and move on to the Qs. So we're looking at the QQQ, the NASDAQ 100 here. And you can see last time drew in or changed, it sort of expanded this cup and handle a bit, I think. And it's still, this cup and handle is just still a thing of beauty. You know, the handle part of this has maybe come down a little lower than we'd like, but it's starting to move back up again. And you can see that the Qs have had a very nice day today, and they're going and attacking these gaps. Why don't I put these gaps in here? So you've got, there's the big gap right there. And you can see we are well into that gap. Now we've got another gap up here that we want to go up and close. And I see no reason why we can't get up there and close that. There may be a little bit of resistance at this 382 retracement, which is also the top of that gap. But we'll see. You know, right now, we have a beautiful setup to have a strong move higher. We need Jay Powell to come in and get on side with this, right? If he tomorrow is even slightly dovish, or perhaps just not even hawkish, if he hints that maybe there will be a 50 basis point rate hike at the September 21st meeting rather than a 75 basis point rate hike, I think this market will take off, and we will easily blast through all these levels and go attack this high here. You know, maybe not all in one day, and actually, hopefully not all in one day. Yeah, if he's perceived as even slightly dovish tomorrow, we're going to have a big green day tomorrow. So it's all on him. The setups here, the technicals are looking beautiful. You know, when I look at this kind of pattern on the chart, I can't help but be bullish. So that's it for the Qs. Let's take a look at IWM. It's very similar. You know, we've been watching the cup and handle in this for a long time. It's moved up even a little bit beyond where I thought that handle might form, and now we've got a beautiful handle, or you know, you could even call it a bull flag forming here. It looks very similar to the one on the Qs. We've already completely closed that gap from Monday, and you know, so now we're just going to try and break out of this handle and then break over the rim of this cup. And you know, same thing with IWM. You know, the Russell small caps. We need Jay Powell's help on this, so it's really all about tomorrow morning. Let's take a look at VIX, our volatility index. So on the weekend, I was pretty adamant about how this pattern here is bearish for VIX, and you know, I could not see that breaking out to the upside. Well, I was dead wrong on that, wasn't I? Because on Monday this capped up big time, and we had that big green candle, and that was a scary jump in VIX. I mean, that was basically very near a 5-point jump in VIX. It hung around there for a couple of days, but yesterday, you know, it tried to go higher. It failed again at the 200-day moving average, and we also have a declining 50-day moving average right there. And then today we gapped down, and you know, it tried to rally, but you know, continued lower. This is great. It'd be nice to see this get back into this downward channel here, and no reason to believe it won't, except again, you know, Jay Powell tomorrow could change everything, right? So I'm not going to be so adamant about VIX this time and say that it can't go up, but it certainly looks like it's not going to. It looks like maybe this was its last gasp, right? And this could continue much lower now. The 10-year yield. Now you know, we've been watching this grinding higher and not being thrilled about it grinding higher because and you can see here, I mean, you know, look at this big gap here and just, you know, kept grinding higher. When this is going higher, it's going to be hard for the stock market to go up. But we had a nice red candle in there in the yields today, and they've come down, and they're getting closer to that really important $3 mark, or 3% mark, I guess actually it is. You know, below that, people will start getting very bullish on stocks, and they'll be getting, you know, bearish on yields again. Let's take a look at the dollar index as well. That has put in some interesting price action here in the last few days. So you can see on Monday, the dollar, well, you know, I mean, all, you know, last week, Thursday, Friday last week, and then Monday this week, dollar was very strong, came up, tagged this high, this pivot high here, and then pulled back on Tuesday. Couldn't get back up there again yesterday. It has put in a bit of a hammer here today. I don't like that, but I do like that that hammer is under resistance, right? It's under the close and the open from back here when we put in that spike high. So this is good. I mean, this is, you know, a half decent setup for the dollar index to roll over. And if the dollar index rolls over, that is bullish for equities, for North American equities. It's also bullish for, you know, international equities as well, emerging markets especially. Emerging markets are especially harmed by a rising dollar. So yeah, let's hope this rolls over. What else we got? Gold wasn't very interesting. Silver's not interesting. Copper. So here's copper. Last time we were looking at you know, a potential bull flag here breaking out. That's really kind of turning into more of a base now, or a, you know, a sideways consolidation. Usually when they look like that, I draw them in as a base. You know, something like this. But it's interesting to see that, and you know how much I like it, when we have a base and then we start consolidating in the top half of the base. That bodes well for a nice breakout. And, you know, copper moving higher is really a good sign for the economy.
Yeah, I already got you water.
So yeah, we want to see this breakout and move higher. And there might be a play in here in some of the names, like Freeport-McMoRan, for instance. Oh, look at that. Freeport-McMoRan is broken out of its little base. This is interesting. Yeah, we may need to take a closer look at this copper space, especially if the market is rallying tomorrow. So I'll maybe do that. I'll look closer at some of these names tonight. And if I do find anything interesting, I'll post it in the Discord. Comps. Okay, yeah. 100 BPS. We will get to that shortly. Okay. So that was copper. The general commodity index is rising. This red candle today is because of oil, which we'll get to right away. But yeah, you can see this, you know, this actually, all this move up in the commodity index is mostly because of oil, and the red in here today was definitely because of oil. Oil's taking a little break. That's fine. I'm not too concerned about that. But let's take a look at the chart. You know, there are things. Oops, that's gold. Sorry, that's what I'm looking for. The one thing I am concerned about here with oil, it's like I'm not surprised that it's having a red day. You can see we've got this major support resistance level here. You know, we've come up into this level recently and pulled back from it. We've got the 200-day moving averages right there as well. And we've had a good run into that level. So it's not surprising to see that pull back a little bit. I don't want to see that pullback get more serious though. you know, and do something like this. It may very well do that. And if all it does is come down to the bottom of the range, I'm totally cool with that. Because then, you know, then we can turn and go back up again. But for now, not terribly concerned on oil. I see DTG has said he's going for a short oil 2.0. Okay. So yeah, I mean, DTG is seeing another leg down. I don't quite see it, and I'll show you why right now. Because when we look at XLE, which is the oil companies, this is still moving higher, right? Look at this. The strength in here is amazing. So you're not going to be buying oil companies, you know, the oil producers, the oil exploration companies, you know, the oil services company. These are all contained in XLE. You're not going to be buying, and natural gas companies too, you're not going to be buying those if you think that oil is going down. And clearly people are buying these. However, we do have this doji here today. That's an indecisive candle, and at the top of the uptrend, you know, it does give us cause for concern. So we'll be paying close attention to that. You know, so far, I mean, you can't really say, you know, you can't be very bearish when you're looking at this chart. All you can really say here is, yeah, we've had a really nice run. This deserves a little bit of a break. Okay, DTG, we'll take a look at Oxy as we'll look at some of the other names in here as well, but definitely look at Oxy too. So right now we're looking at XOP. This is oil, and this is an ETF that covers oil and gas producers. And you can see that this is, you know, this has had a nice run up. It broke out nicely, you know, continue to move up, getting a little indecisive here right now. And again, you know, no reason this can't take a break. We do not want to see it start filling this gap though. Let's get this gap filled in here. Yeah, I mean, if it does pull back, hopefully this, oops, there we go. Hopefully this gap will act as support on any sort of pullback. And then it, you know, I mean, and that's this is almost forming a bit of a bull flag here, although messy, not as clean as I'd like to see. Let's look at oil services ETF. And you can see that this one was lagging, lagging behind, but it had a nice strong breakout. And now we've got a bit of you know, an indecisive day there as well. But notice that, you know, crude put in a red day, but these ETFs we're looking at have all put in green days. So, you know, that is definitely bullish. Let's look at natural gas, because natural gas is one of the things that's driving the boat here. Now, we tried to break out the other day. This would have been Monday. Tried to break out, came back in, tried to break out again on Wednesday, and then pulled right back. But only had the one red day. And, you know, and now we've got some nice tight little consolidation days up here. I want you to notice is what's happened before when we've come into this level, okay? If you look back in June here, when we came into this level, we instantly turned around and pulled back really hard, okay? Then we had a nice rally. We rallied right back up into that level towards the end of July and pulled back moderately hard, you know, but we were caught by some of the moving averages here. And rallied up again. Now we've come into again, and we've had 1-2 touches on it. No real pullback there. A couple of even, you know, attempted to break through. I mean, you know, tiny little pullback really in the grand scheme of things compared to these other pullbacks. And we're consolidating right up under that right now. So this looks primed to make a move higher. And it really better make a move higher, because if this, you know, if this does this kind of price action and then breaks out the downside of this, that would be quite bearish, because this is a very bullish setup in my opinion. So that's natural gas. Okay, and if gas is going up, then oil, it will drag oil with it, because you always get a lot of gas along with your oil. And the companies who you know, who, the oil producing companies are always producing a little bit of gas as well. So they're going to get a boost from this too. Now let's take a look at some of the individual names here. And DTG wanted to look at Oxy. So he says he's short Oxy. Wow, that's daring. Yeah, I mean, you can see how one might think this might be rolling over here, but I mean, it has broken out, right? It's above that pivot high right there, and is still above it. And you can see how in one of the sessions I had marked out on Oxy, potential head and shoulders, very shallow head and shoulders here. But then, we've broken out to the upside of that. So that head and shoulders is broken, in my opinion. We would have expected that to come down through the neckline here, and it did not. Instead, it went up. So that was not a head and shoulders top there. Now, it's entirely possible that, this is going to be the left shoulder, and this is going to be a head if this goes a little higher. Could still build a big pattern like that, but, I don't see it. And it's hard for me to be bearish on this right now. So I will wish DTG luck, but because I think he's going to need it. Sorry, man. All right. Let's take a look at a couple of other names. So yeah, some of the names that I recommended last weekend. I entered these names on, I believe it was Monday. First thing on Monday, I think, is when I went in these. First one of these is Magnolia Oil and Gas. We've broken out of this pattern here. Now, we haven't run all that well. Oh, I remember, yes, I went on this day here. When we gapped down, came down to this line right here, this trend line that I'd had in there, and then started moving back up. I just felt, with everything else I was seeing going on in the space, I just felt really strongly that an early entry on here was the way to go. So I got a really nice entry down in here, which I was really happy with. Now, this is kind of slowed down a little bit. It's losing a bit of momentum, just after breaking out. So that's a little bit scary. But we'll see if oil can get up and go and move higher again tomorrow. This will definitely go with it. One of the other names that we looked at on the week was EQNR. Very, very similar kind of thing happened there. Although this one gapped up on Monday. And when it pulled back and then started to move back up again, I bit the bullet on this one and went in there. And glad I did, because this has had a really nice move as well, and taking a little bit of a break today, which was fine. Okay, so some of the other areas within energy are doing really well too. We've got TAN doing nicely. I can't remember what this was. Oh, this was the infrastructure bill or anti-inflation bill, whatever. There were grants or whatever for solar. Plus this gap up, and it's put in a bit of a base here, and it seems to have put in a higher low now, and looks to be going higher. So I think we continue. I think we'll see TAN going higher. Uranium is one that had a really big day yesterday. Japan has said, and this was yesterday's news, but Japan said they are going to start focusing on nuclear energy again. They had, after Fukushima, of course, had pulled back from their nuclear energy ambitions, and now they're getting back into nuclear energy again. So that was the reason for this big move. Now, I don't know if that's, I don't know if that's enough to sustain it. You can see we've come into some resistance here, and this is URA, this is the ETF. So yeah, tough call on uranium right now. I think it's worth watching and maybe playing a breakout here, especially if you get a consolidation for a couple of days. But yeah, the jury's out a little bit, in my opinion. And we can look at Cameco, the biggest uranium producer, and you can see that it came into some pretty strong resistance. That resistance line goes back a ways. And we've seen, you know, some failures there before. So yeah, it's good to be wary of this one up in this area. However, on a breakout, if it breaks through here, could be a nice move. And finally, one more energy. If we look at something like BTU, which is coal, this is Peabody Energy, and you can see that that is strong as well. So the whole energy complex is still doing really well, although taking a bit of a break right now. All right. What else should we look at? Let's see. Discretionaries, they were nothing interesting there. Industrials had a very strong day today. You can see, you know, they've been stair-stepping up, rolled over, built a little 3-day base here just above the 21-day moving average, and then had a breakout and a really nice strong candle today. So industrials is somewhere that we might want to look for opportunities. What else? Financials. So financials had, you know, very similar kind of plunge, and found support right where they should at the bottom of that gap, which was also the top of this base that they've broken out from, and had a really strong day. I mean, they had a strong day yesterday after gapping down, and had a very strong day today, and are looking to close all these gaps here. Actually, we can probably get rid of this gap here now. But you know, you can see they were well into there's that old gap, which is now kind of like this gap. There we go. Yeah, that's almost closed now. So yeah, I think that you know, financials are saying that Powell is going to be dovish tomorrow. Some of the individual names we were looking at there, like Goldman Sachs, you know, it broke down and out of here, of course, and it's I don't know, this move out of here is a little bit weak in my opinion, so I'm gonna pull this one off of our list. But Morgan Stanley, on the other hand, looks a little stronger, and you can see that it was drawing a nicer looking bull flag anyway. You know, before it broke down on the bottom of it, but now it's just back into that flag. So if we can kind of get back up in here and through, you know, that might be a nice little play in there. So maybe keep an eye on Morgan Stanley. What else? Technology is not terribly interesting. Had a nice day today, but you know, still it's got some work to do. Same goes for communications sector. You know, had a good day today. You know, most of these, well, Apple's an important one. But you know, Apple is leading kind of everything here, right? You know, Apple is leading the whole market, and it's and it broke its trend line, but it is you know, came down, tagged this 21-day moving average, and is moving back up again. So that's really important to see. It'd be really nice to see it take this trend line again, although this trend line is pretty steep. And we may want to, you know, just sort of tweak that up a little bit. You know, something more reasonable might look like, oops. I think something like that might be a little more reasonable. But yeah, let's see what happens. Let's see if it can get back in and get ahead and, you know, get above this trend line and keep on going and see if they can attack these all-time highs. That's Apple, Amazon. So Amazon, you can see, came down and kind of got back into this gap a little bit. Found some support here, right? You know, support pretty much right at that pivot level, and is now moving back out of the gap. So that's nice to see. Be good to see this one continue its way up. I just don't really see a play in here for me right now. Meta actually had a pretty decent day. I think Meta was of all the FAANGs, Meta was the strongest. This chart is still a disaster, but yeah, you can see Meta turned. It didn't actually hit the bottom of the range this time, and is then turned up. All right. What else? Netflix. Netflix trying to maybe break out of this little consolidation. This is healthy looking action. You know, if you're daring, I could see playing a breakout out of there. Google, Google is also putting some interesting price action. Again, turned up before coming down to the bottom of the range. And you can see it's been down at the bottom of the range so many times. So this is quite bullish. You know, it only coming down if, you know, especially if it keeps going. If this keeps going, I wouldn't be surprised if it finally broke out the top of that range this time. So yeah, this will be interesting to watch this one. And Tesla, of course, had their split, their 3-for-1 split this morning. So now they're down around $300, and of course, it went down today, as most stocks do after their split. All right, what else we got? Oh, semiconductors had a good day, which I think surprised a lot of people. But yeah, it's nice to see this turn up where it did. Semis have just been messy though. It's just a tough space lately. But some of the individual names, the NVIDIA is the important one here. NVIDIA had was going to gap down quite a bit, and just ended up having a really strong day. You've got to look at the intraday chart on this. I mean, look at this. You know, you had in your pre-market. You know, this started in the pre-market, and they started buying it, and they just kept buying it. And they really didn't stop all day. You know, they were buying the dips, and it had a very strong close. So I think we can expect to see more upside out of this tomorrow, and more from probably all of the semis tomorrow. AMD could be interesting. Oops, we'll go to the daily. We got a little downward channel, or maybe a big bull flag here. And this had a big green day today, and looks like he wants to go attack the top of this channel and maybe break out of that. And on semiconductor, this one broke out to new highs today. You know, beautiful candle, new high here. So, you know, there are some really strong names in this space. You know, if you go and look for them, and this obviously is one of the names. That is it. None of the other sectors are terribly interesting, so I'm not going to go over those. Does anybody have any tickers they'd like to look at? Oh, actually, oh, China stocks. Yeah, okay. And I see, you know, 100 BPS has asked for what do I think of IQ? This is up along with many other Chinese competitors. Okay, let's take a look at IQ. So IQ is a semiconductor, isn't it? Oh, yeah, right. It's the Chinese Netflix sort of thing, right? Okay. Let's get the big. Yeah, okay, of course. Yeah, I got slammed with, I mean, all the other Chinese names. I guess this is on the hit list as well. If they don't get audited or provide audited financials, they're going to get kicked off of the U.S. exchanges, I imagine. Great big basin here. Still a little bit of a downtrend, a bit of a downward channel here, right? Kind of, sort of, something like that. So obviously we need to see this break out the top of this range, get above this 200-day moving average. But for now, I mean, it's kind of like it's firmly in this range, firmly in this base. You know, although we should have probably fairly major support right here. Let's get that drawn in. Right off of this pivot, actually. Maybe we can just tweak that up just a little bit. There we go. I like that better right there. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Yeah, so this $3.40, really important level. And then, you know, we've got resistance overhead. But we've been in this channel now for a long time. Got a minor one here. Yeah, it looks due. It looks due for a breakout, I think. But there are definitely some levels overhead that we're going to need to keep an eye on. This, you know, 520 area, somewhere that's going to, you know, potentially find resistance, and also this downtrend line right here, and where your where the 200-day moving average is. So for me, I don't see anything. I don't see an entry or anything in here right now. But I can see how this is definitely worth keeping an eye on for a breakout. Because if it does break out, you can see that it's done no volume in this area right in here. So, once we get above, say, what is that, about 560 or so, we should have a pretty easy ride all the way up to about $8. So that is definitely something you'd want to be involved in. That would be, yeah, there should be a nice move. Even breaking out above the 200-day moving average might be enough to do it. It may pause here at around 5 1/4. But yeah, once you're through there, it could be a good move. So yeah, keep an eye on it, but I think it's early still. All right, what is DTG? You want to look at China stocks? I think that's a great idea. So let's do that. Let's start with KWEB. So KWEB is the ETF for Chinese internet stocks. And you can see, obviously massive downtrend in this. Trying to break that downtrend. Let me get that in there so everybody can see that. So we, a couple of months ago, broke that downtrend and even came back and tested it and started moving up again, but just couldn't do it. Just kind of failed right at this area right here. And I want to draw that one in too, because I think that's going to come into play again right off of that pivot, right? Okay, so yeah, came up into this what had been support and their resistance. Came in there, couldn't get through, and then sort of pulled back. And now, I like this bottoming action here. I mean, this is rock solid on this bottom here. So let's just draw that in. Okay, so there we go. I mean, we've got a nice little range to work with, and you can see that even in the shorter term, if we were to call this a base, we made a nice breakout out of that today. Now, if you don't know, there was news today that China and the US are getting a lot closer to getting this audit thing sorted out. So they say, we've kind of heard this before. So, I mean, it is a little difficult to believe, but if that actually happened, we would see big moves in all these Chinese names. So let's look at some of the individual ones. I'm sure DTG and other people who are watching this would like to look at BABA, no doubt. You can see BABA, it's very similar to that ETF we just looked at. Nice bottoming pattern here, and a couple of really strong days. It'd be nice to see another strong day, even to get us up into this area and then go sideways for a few days and then try and break out of that area and break out above that 200-day moving average. These things have disappointed us before, and I'm pretty sure they're going to disappoint us again. But this is looking quite constructive in here. We are stair-stepping higher, right? We are putting in higher lows. We're just not really putting in the higher highs yet. So that's the next step in this process, is to be putting in the higher highs so that we can really start calling this an uptrend. Because, really right now, we're still in a downtrend, right? But it is looking hopeful. So DTG says, across other forums and communities, I'm seeing increasing China talk. Yeah, I'm not surprised. And we're seeing more interest. I mean, look at, this is good volume on these last good volume on these last couple of candles. I mean, even decent volume on this hammer right here. You can see that down here, right? All these green days with ever increasing volume. This is definitely what we want to see. This is nice price action. BIDU is another one that was quite interesting. Quite interesting today. Really big move here, up almost 9%. you know, almost 9% 2 days in a row, right? So yeah, very strong. Coming into some resistance though, you know, we've got some resistance at around 155 on this. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But yeah, it kind of looks like BIDU is leading a little bit compared to some of these other Chinese names. So, you know, yeah, if it can get through this area, I think we could see some really good things happening here, not only for BIDU, but for a lot of the other Chinese names as well. We should look at JD. Again, nice strong move, you know, 3 days of strong move here. Nice hammer to start it all off, and 2 good strong days. Tagged the 200-day moving average though, and couldn't get through, right? Or I mean, it got through, but it pulled back. So want to see that, you know, keep moving tomorrow, or go sideways. I mean, this is a strong move. Sideways would be healthy on this. We don't need these things to make the big move all at once. DTG says, I don't want to be that douche, but want to say, called it out a few days ago, haha. And absolutely, you did, and congratulations on that. I wish you had been more forceful in calling that out. I saw that post, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. But it was sort of like, I don't know, it seemed like you were early, but no, you nailed it. You nailed it. So good job, man. Yeah, next time, you know, maybe, who knows? I mean, maybe you weren't that confident on the call right at that time, but yeah, sometimes we all need to be banged over the head a little bit, and reminded, you know, of these things. So, but that was a really nice call out, no doubt about it. Are there any other of these names that we should look at? Or is that pretty much covered China? I think that pretty much covers China. Yeah, okay. Okay, we can like take a really quick look at those ones too. NIU? No idea what this is. Motorcycle manufacturer. I don't like this one. I could totally see any move up failing on this. Yeah, not thrilled there. Pinduoduo. Oh, this looks a little better. Yeah, this is, you know, much like BAVA, right? Series of higher lows, but really need to be making a higher high, which this looks like it could do any day. So yeah, then very similar to the other ones. NEO, I was looking at NEO the other day, actually. What did we see in NEO? All right, we had this, yeah, this cup and handle we were watching, and it didn't really pan out. I mean, we could just call this a giant handle now, right? I mean, at some point you got to just give up and say that it failed though, right? But yeah, I mean, it's still handle-ish. Little downward channel, breakout to the upside, could be strong move there. Definitely worth keeping an eye on. Okay, so that's it for China. Let's go back. Okay, Shills has asked for, hey man, Shills has asked for CAT and NVIDIA for some potential scalp plays and help identify some levels for them. All right. So we'll probably be wanting to look at, well, we'll start looking at the daily chart, but we're going to need to go to some intraday charts on that if you're looking to scalp it. Okay, oh, look at this. Remember earlier, I don't think you were here, Shills, earlier, but I was saying industrials had a really nice day. And Caterpillar is in industrials. You go back to that ETF really quick. You can see that the industrials ETF, it had this little 3-day consolidation and broke out and had a big green candle today. So there's our context for CAT. CAT's put in a low, came up, had a nice rally off its low, pulled back, and now we come back up to that level again. And it's been basing here. So it looks ready to go. I mean, if this doesn't break out tomorrow, I don't think it's gonna. But again, you know, we've got Jay Powell's got to give us a hand here. Yeah, this looks like it could be a decent breakout. This looks like something that is going to go like right at the open. So if you're watching the open, the thing you want to watch for, let's go to our intraday charts here, because that's our setup, right? I mean, you know, basically we just need this to open higher, and if it does, we get in and we ride that opening wave, much like today, right? I could definitely see the same sort of thing happening tomorrow that happened today, where you have a gap up, and it goes. But if we let's look at a 1 minute chart on this and just see. Oh, that was nice. Yeah, so you had the gap up, and then it sold off instantly, right? But then it turned around really quick and it just started going green. If once you go from red to green like this on a gap up, you got to be buying that if you're a scalper. Okay, this is a beautiful setup for a scalper, right? You open, you go down, you come right back up again, it turns green, you're buying somewhere here. You even get this, and then remember, this is on a 1 minute chart, so you know these patterns are small, but you know, so this is like a 2 minute pattern right here. You can buy a breakout of that, and you can see people did. Now, what would scare you a little bit in this is you can see this sort of declining volume at first. Yeah, this gave you a good entry. I would study this tonight. Take another look at this as a 1 minute chart, as a 2 minute chart, and get a feel for how that traded this morning, and give yourself an idea of how, if you see something similar, what are you going to do? How are you going to trade that? So that's what I would do in Caterpillar. But you're basically just looking for, you know, watch that pre-market price action, but you're looking for a gap up, or maybe a little small gap up, a little pullback, and then, you know, like today, it was red and then it turned to green, and that's when you get in and go. Because that is a breakout. It's, you know, it's too bad that this breakout happened so late in the day here. It might tomorrow, you know, tomorrow in the pre-market, but it might actually come down a little bit and then move back up, and that'll give me an even better entry. So that's CAT. NVIDIA. Yeah, okay, we looked at NVIDIA. We looked at NVIDIA on the daily chart. And I think we did take a quick look intraday as well. Yeah, you can see that NVIDIA had a strong day after, you know, after a very weak morning, and everybody thought they were going to be very weak. But they just started buying, and they kept buying all day. So we'll go back to the intraday chart again on that one for you. So I think this one would have been a little more difficult to play today, certainly right at the open. I mean, you could have bought this green candle, but you would have been second guessing yourself all in through here. And I don't know if you would have stayed in as a scalper. But this was actually a half decent setup. You know, you can see you had these little consolidations in the pre-market, and it was stair-stepping up, right? And then it did the same thing right at the open. But I think, you know, for me, for my style anyway, the play that I would have done would have been buying somewhere in here. So the breakout above this level, right? So the first, what are we on? We're on a 2 minute chart. So this is close to the first 15 minute range here. And if you look down at my 5 minute chart in the bottom left corner, you can see I have it automatically mark the ranges. So this pink line is the first 15-minute range. Okay, so we've got the purple line here. The purple line, by the way, is the first hour. All right. Because oftentimes breakouts of those ranges will work really well. So anyway, you can see where it broke out of this 15-minute range. That's a nice little scalping play when it does that. And you can see, if you go back to the 2 minute chart, you can see that right here. So you've come up, you've pulled back a little bit. As you come back up, you know, some guys will get in down here. Some guys will draw they'll draw a line, and they're probably doing this on a 1 minute chart, not a 2 minute chart. Some guys will draw a line like that. And when it starts to break out that line there, okay, that's where they'll buy. And if you look, you can see here, so we'll follow this down, right? And look at our volume. We've got fairly big volume on these green candles and less volume on the red candles. And then when this candle starts to go green, and you can kind of tell that it's got bigger volume, that's a good sign to get in. Now, it's easy to miss that. And I bet you some guys were going in on this one too. You had one little indecisive candle in here, and then you had another big green candle with good volume. You've got to be getting in somewhere around here. And then you just try and hang on. Here, you might have sold some of the position on this little pullback, but if you did, you got to add it back when we break out above here. Okay, you're going to draw that line right there. And even if you're selling some of your position, taking some profits, and then you want to buy that breakout again. And when it gets up into here, again, consolidating, you're thinking maybe take a little piece off, but you also, when you're drawing these lines, you're drawing a line on top, you also got to draw a line on the bottom, right? And you got to think about getting out of maybe the rest of your position after you've had a big run like this, and it starts looking toppy here, and then it starts to break down. You probably want to get out. But Netflix later in the day, did continue to move higher, and it had a really nice close. But yeah, so there's your plays off the opening drive, right? In NVIDIA. Let me just catch up here. Okay, James has asked, identify a Tesla level as well, and Shills. So this is for intraday as well. Same sort of thing. We'll just do one more of these intraday plays. Oh, yeah, okay. All right, yeah, okay. So Tesla. So we could look really quickly at the so when we look at the daily here, we can see we've got the 200-day moving average overhead. We've got a kind of a consolidation going on. It's a little messy. It's hard to get levels off of that, but maybe the previous day's high, maybe the 200-day moving average. When we go intraday, so from the open, we want to look at the pre-market, and we've got some solid levels, and you can see actually the levels that I put in on this in the pre-market today. I didn't bother, so I put in this high in the pre-market, right? There's my my R1. I didn't bother even putting in this these lows here. Normally I would have, but I thought, if it's coming down, it's going to cut through those really fast. So the first area of support, I thought it might find support would be here. And then here's my second area of support. That one I nailed. All right, so right at the open, this just started to fail. They started selling it big time. It came down, it cut through that first area. I thought we might find support, and came down to my second support level, bounced there. So, if I were playing this, I would have got short on the open, because I just thought that they were going to be selling it. You sell the open and you just try and stay in it. Once it starts to bounce, you're out. But once it comes up to this level that you've identified and it starts having a tough time there, you might actually short it again here. And certainly when it comes up and gets through that level but can't go any higher, you probably want to short it again here. And then notice VWAP, right? It failed right around that VWAP area. So you want to be shorting in here, and that gives you a nice little move down. So now you've had a couple of really good shorts in this. You're probably looking to cover fairly quick in here and thinking that it's going to go sideways, which it did. I guess when it broke out of this, by this time I wasn't watching this at all. I guess when it broke out of here, everybody thought, okay, this is it. Now we're going to go higher. and they all got faked out, right? It wasn't until much later in the day that this had a really nice rally. But yeah, so there's there's how I would mark out some of those levels, especially for that opening range and everything, those trades. So hopefully that was helpful for you. Just so when you're doing this, just look at your daily chart and look at your other time frames, your 65-minute chart, your 15. You can see, I mean, I've got everything 1, 2, 5, 15, and 65 all on one page here, right? And I'm getting levels off of all of them and marking those up and then seeing how it reacts at those levels and then reacting to that. Okay. So next up, James has asked for Meta. This chart is just such a disaster, James. Okay. So yeah, I think I mentioned this earlier, right? How maybe I didn't. It's interesting. This is kind of like Google. How it's had this range, it tried to expand out of the range, and basically what's happened is the range has expanded. And after it hit the top of that range, the last time it pulled down, it's turned up now before hitting the bottom of the range. So that's somewhat bullish. I still think I just hate this company and this stock though. And I really kind of don't like the way it looks here. I see a lot of resistance in here. We've got the 21-day moving average overhead right now. We've got the top of this range. We've got the 100-day moving average right there. I just don't see this breaking out of this range anytime soon. So this is not something, I mean, you can play the swings in this range and make money on this. I mean, this is pretty wide range. From 155 up to 185, that's $30. You can do okay playing the swings in here. But yeah, I'm not terribly hopeful about this breaking out anytime soon. Although, what are they here today? They've got some VR headset coming out around the middle of September. All right, so that's Meta. And James has also asked for Pfizer. All right. Yeah, a big kind of like downward sloping consolidation. Another one where you could maybe play the range. There should be a little bit of support right where it is now. There should be, probably support on this pivot. But if you start dropping these, if you drop below this and then below this, you're coming down pretty far, I think, maybe even down to the 38 to 40 area. So you want to see that turn up. I don't know. I just don't see anything interesting here, James. Sorry. Not something I would want to be in. And if you're in it, I don't know. Are there sleepless nights here if you're in it? Short-term. Oh, I see now. Change the short-term swing trade to the upside, like long. It's not I don't know. It's kind of not proving it. I see so much resistance overhead. You got that gap there. That's the first one, right? Is this gap. Cool. All right. Got a gap there. That's going to act as resistance. You got the 21-day moving average declining. That's coming in on it. All these other moving averages that are declining. I think you can find a way better place than this one. All right. Yeah, James says, yeah, it doesn't look too sexy. I have identified Tesla levels. What else I got? Oh, JL wanted, he DM'd me. He wants to look at Eli and Palantir. So we are looking at Eli, Callaway Golf. So this has really started to get into a nice short, medium term uptrend here. Let's get a couple of trend lines drawn in this. This is like, this is making a nice move off the bottom. And this trend is even kind of accelerating a little bit. Look at, kind of here to here. Yeah, this is nice. So you can see we've got, we've got a series of higher lows, and now we've got, some higher highs. So that's really important to see. We are coming into resistance, or we did come into resistance and stalled out there before, pulled back, and so now we've got to see this, go back up. Seems like it's found some support at this little sort of nascent trend line, but let's get this resistance drawn in here. I almost think actually we should change this to a major. I think that could be a bit of a tough one for it to get through. It might need some sort of catalyst to get through there. Okay, so that's that level. What do we have for levels? Yeah, we definitely got support right here, right? You can see that it's found support there. So let's just get that in for fun. There. And that did act nicely, support right in here. Okay. And we should probably get a couple more levels to the upside to watch out for if this does break out. This is going to be something to watch for here. And then probably something like that. Okay. There we go. So that gives us a whole bunch of levels to watch out for. So step one, of course, for this is to keep going up. So that we want to see this trend line hold, we want to see the support level here hold, and we want to see this now move higher. And once we get up here, we're okay seeing a little bit of consolidation here onto this line like we had before, but of course we want to see it after it consolidates there for a few days or a week to break out to the upside of that. But I like what I see here. I don't really see any reason why this couldn't continue higher. But of course, it is also going to need help from the market, right? And from Jay Powell tomorrow. What if Jay Powell golfs? He must. He probably does. All right. What was the, oh yeah, Palantir. All right. So Palantir was setting itself up nicely with a little uptrend. It got through a major resistance level and then fell apart. And so, what do we got now? I mean, basically what we have now is a bear flag, right? We would expect to see this break to the downside. You probably don't want to. I imagine you're long in this, or maybe you're looking to get long. But this is definitely a bear flag, and the measurement on that will take it off the chart. Wow, down under $6. Okay. So that's what you got to watch out for in here. Now, I mean, you hear me say all the time, every technician say, from failed moves come fast moves. So if this can break out the upside of this flag, and it looks like, it might want to do that, right? It might want to do that tomorrow. If the market is rallying tomorrow, I bet you this thing, this thing breaks out the top of this. There may be a quick little play in there, or if you're already long, this can give you hope. You certainly don't want to see this break out the downside of this consolidation, because it will go lower. It may come down and test these lows here. Let's see whether that's around 650. If it doesn't find support at this little cluster right here at around 750. So that's where we're at here. Let's draw in that level right there. And then that low, that all-time low. Yeah, it's got to get up and go here because it's on its last legs, unfortunately. All right, so that was everything for JL. What else we got? Have I missed anybody? Have I missed anything here? Looks like I got everything. Oh, 100 BPS says Joe Rogan just interviewed Zuck. Will probably moon now. I'm talking about Meta. Let's see. What did it do after hours? We should have looked at the intraday on that. Nah, didn't do anything, right? This happened, like this interview was after hours. Because the market doesn't care. All right. Okay, so last call for tickers. If anybody's got anything, now's the time to mention it. If not, we are going to call it a day. Okay. All right, what do we got coming up? One more, Costco. All right. Okay, so Costco had this very, very disappointing, just this plunge. You know, it really shouldn't have done that. This was just way too much. I mean, I know that it had such a big run, right? You know, had a beautiful run. This thing is just, you know, a monster uptrend. Let's get that trend back in there just for fun. Or something like that. Actually, you know what? I had this one throw. Yeah, that's better. All right, so yeah, there's our monster uptrend, and it kind of put, you know, it got very toppy in here, and then it just fell apart. And in my opinion, fell way too far. Now it recovered pretty quick. But you know, after it had fallen like this, I didn't want to get back in. I got out of my calls up in here, my leaps up in here, and I did not want to get back in after seeing what it did here at this price action. I really hated that price action. But it has since put in, you know, much better price action, right? It got that trend going again. So, you know, now we've got a new trend, and it's even actually steeper than the old trend. So, you know, I don't know how you play this here, right? We're come back up into resistance, near all-time highs, and it is showing signs of slowing down, right? I mean, this trend line is almost broken now. It's slowing up in here. I think it should probably go sideways up in this area for a couple of months, and then break out to new all-time highs. That would get me more interested. You know, literally a couple of months, like into November, a few months even. Into November, shopping around in here. I would love to see that, and then I would buy that breakout. But I can't buy it up here. And I don't want to go short on it either, right? It is a very strong stock. It's shown the ability to really recover nicely, and it's got pretty decent support below. So yeah, I think this is hands off for now. Unless you're super bullish, unless you know something about the fundamentals of this that I'm missing. I mean, it's got great fundamentals. There's no doubt about it. But the price action on the chart here is saying it needs to consolidate a while longer before it can have another really nice leg up. And it's done this kind of stuff before, right? You know, if we look back on the chart here, it has these periods of time where it just goes sideways, or has a little pullback, goes sideways again for a little while, then breaks out. You can see these long periods of going sideways. So that's, you know, that's why I think it's just fine for this to go sideways for a while, and then give us an opportunity, give us a nice setup to get in. So definitely keep an eye on it, and maybe consider playing that breakout. But the longer it consolidates sideways, the better, in my opinion. So that's what I got for Costco. All right. I think that's it. And I think I'm starting to lose my voice. So let's look at this. What do we got coming up? Where are we today? 25th today, right? So we're right here. So we're going to be moving Ticker Talk to Wednesdays. I don't think I'm going to do the 31st. I guess, you know, one of the things I didn't talk about at the beginning, actually, although I think I mentioned in the last weekend video, was just how we're really in a kind of summer doldrums now. Volume dries up, which could actually make for really volatile moves like we've seen in the last week, right? That's one of the reasons things are so volatile right now. But volume will continue to dry up, and generally the moves will get smaller, and you'll see stocks that just don't go anywhere. They just go sideways all day. They don't trade very much, and this gets worse next week and the week after. And then the week after Labor Day is when things really start to pick up again. So I don't think we'll do a Ticker Talk next Wednesday, but we definitely will do. We definitely do on the Wednesday after, which I think is the day before Labor Day. Anyway, so yeah, we'll put the calendar out, of course. You'll get that in the Discord. So I hope everybody has a good week. I hope you enjoy the end of summer here. And yeah, just, you know, be careful in the markets because it is going to really slow down. And so don't try and force it. You know, this is not the time of year to be forcing trades. You know, can't hurt to even take a little break. If you're not liking the price action you're seeing, then you know, take a little break, take a couple of days off, come back, see what's going on. But you know, about 2 weeks from now, like I said, after Labor Day, or the week after Labor Day, everybody comes back to work. New York is bustling again, the financial district is bustling again, and things will really start moving, and there'll be some really nice setups in a really nice place. So enjoy the rest of your day. And if you're watching the recording, don't forget to hit that thumbs up, and we will see you all again soon. Thanks, everybody.